Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're approaching the end of the year, so I just thought I'd give you all a quick update on what's been going on the past few months. So after achieving distinctions on my grade 1 music theory and my grade 1 piano, I then went on to take my grade 2 music theory exam and my grade 3 music theory exam, and getting full marks on my grade 2 and only dropping 2 points on my grade 3. I was very proud of that. I've recently gone on to take my grade 2 piano, and let's just say it did not go as smoothly as I hoped it would. Leading up to my grade 2 piano exam, I was feeling really confident. My scales I knew off by heart, my pieces I knew like the back of my hand. I'd purposely booked the last available slot. On my where was I? So I'd purposely booked the last available slot on the ABRSM website in order to give me more than enough time to get my sight reading right. The only real question mark, if you like, was my oral. My sung echoes in my grade 1 exam weren't really up to scratch, so I'd put a bit of time trying to improve that, and I wasn't really feeling confident on the clapping part of the exam. Some of the specimen tests that I did, it wasn't very clear if it was in 2 time or 3 time, but overall I was feeling really confident about the exam. So on the day of the exam, we got to the venue about 45 minutes early. Checked in, the steward let me know that there was 2 people in front of me. That wasn't an issue. Waited around for a bit, and then about 20 minutes before my exam started, she called me up. You're free to use the practice room, which is something that I was also allowed to do on my grade 1 exam. And I walked into the room and I looked at the piano and I was gutted. It was the same piano that I'd practiced on in my grade 1 exam, and it was rubbish. The pedal sounded awful, and some of the keys weren't even sounding. So it's not the best piano to practice on before you're taking an exam. I'd complained about this piano as well when I took my grade 1 exam, so clearly nothing's been done about it. Anyway, I was playing through my grade 2 pieces and I got onto my second piece, The First Flakes Are Falling, which is a piece that I added pedal to just because it sounds better. So I'd practiced for months using the pedal. So I started playing and my heart sank. It sounded all mushy. I don't know, it must have been the piano. Every time I pressed the pedal down, it just seemed like it was, how can I describe it? There was too much reverb, it was resonating way too much, and all the sounds just sort of blended together. So at this point, I am stressing out. I message my teacher and I say, look, this is what's happening. Lila! She's barking at people walking past the house. So at this point, I am stressing out. I message my teacher and say to him, look, this is the situation. What do I do? Do I go into the exam and play the piece with pedal, or do I play it without pedal? He told me, look, you've practiced a piece with pedal, it's a different piano, just go in there and play it how you've practiced. So I must have been in the practice room for about 10-15 minutes, and the steward came in to me, and I thought she was going to say, oh, the examiner's ready for you now. But she says to me, you've practiced enough now, you're not going to change anything sitting in here. So she's got me up, she's turned the lights off, and then she's told me to go back to sit in the waiting area. So I'm essentially going into the exam cold again. And I was shocked, to be honest, because I haven't had this happen to me on any of my previous exams that I've taken with the ABRSM. And the way she spoke to me, I wouldn't speak like that to someone when they're just about to take an exam. So it really didn't help with my stress levels going into the exam. So I go into the exam hall, say hello to the examiner, pass him over the exam slip, and he says to me, While I'm putting this in the system, feel free to play on the piano, test it out a little bit. So the first thing I do is see if First Flakes sounds okay on it, which it did. It sounded like a much better quality piano than the one I practiced on in the warm-up room, which raised my confidence quite a bit. So the exam starts and we start off on scales, which went really well, no issues there. I then move on to my first piece, Allegro by Thomas Atwood, and all was going smoothly up until the last line, which I made a mistake on. But I carried on, which is something I'm proud of, because in my recital that I did in July, I made a mistake and I stopped and started again, which in an exam would have costed me way more marks. But I carried on and took it in my stride, which is something I'm proud of. And then we get on to the sight reading, which, as I said before, I was feeling very confident about going into this exam. And the test that I was actually given, it was quite difficult. It was a piece in D minor, but the hand position was obviously at grade 2. You're still in that 5-finger position, but it wasn't in its root position. It was, the thumb was on B flat, and there was a couple of accidentals in there as well, which made it quite difficult. But as I was playing through it, in the 30 seconds that I got, I was playing it through no trouble. And then the examiner said to me, right, we're ready, can you play it through for me? And I played it through fine, but halfway through me playing it, I was pressing the left hand notes and nothing was coming out. So I turned around to the examiner afterwards and I said, those left hand notes weren't sounding. And he just said, okay. So I didn't know what to think. I didn't know if he was going to take that into account in the mark form, or whether I was going to lose marks because the notes that I played didn't sound. And finally, we got to the oral test, which was the part of the exam that I was least confident about. Now, it was split into 4 parts. We had the pulsometer test, in which you're clapping in time and letting the examiner know whether the piece is in 2 time or 3 time. We then moved on to the sung echoes, where you sync a phrase of music back. Then it's the examiner will play a piece of music twice, the second time differently, and then you have to tell him whether it was pitch that was different or whether it was the rhythm that was different. And the last part of the exam is you'll play a piece and the examiner will ask you questions about loud and quiet playing and tempo changes. Now, the pulsometer test I was stressing about before the exam because, like I said before, the tests that I've done, they were hit and miss. Some of them, it wasn't obvious whether it was in 2 time or 3 time, but I passed this. I knew straight away the piece was in 3 time and I was clapping accurately, which was good, felt confident. Next was obviously the sung echoes. The sung echoes, I wasn't 100% at this, but I'd put a bit of work in, and while it wasn't 100% accurate, I felt I performed quite well by my standards. Next came the issue. It was the differences test. Now, the examiner plays a piece twice, once for the difference, but he makes a mistake on the first one. That completely throws me off guard. Now, I'd expect the examiner to say, sorry, I'll start that again because I made a mistake. But he didn't. He sort of tried to correct his mistake and carry on, and just didn't say anything. So, and I didn't want to say to the examiner, oh, can you play that again, because that might reflect badly on me in my marks, because he might say, oh, he wasn't listening. So I was sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place there. So I just wung it on that section, and by the time we got to the last part, which was the loud and quiet playing and tempo changing, I wasn't really focused. So walking out of that exam hall, I felt rather disappointed, deflated. I wasn't expecting much. I was expecting a merit at best. Anyway, a few days later, I get the results, and I got a distinction. I got 143 out of 150, dropping just 7 marks. I'm extremely proud of this result as 2 out of my 3 pieces I got full marks on, and the piece that I made a mistake on I dropped just 1 mark, getting 29 out of 30. So it all turned out quite well in the end, and the day I got the results was the day of a Christmas concert I was taking part in with Gold Music. So that really gave me a huge confidence boost, especially after my last recital in which I made a mistake and had to start again. So going into this, I was feeling quite confident. I was quite confident anyway. The 2 pieces that I played, one of them was my exam piece, First Flakes Are Falling, and my second piece, which is also on my channel, Walking in the Air, was a piece that I've practiced extensively. So I was more confident going into this recital than the last one, as I'd put so much more time in preparing for it. Now, believe it or not, on the day of the Christmas concert, it was snowing. And while you may think, oh, that's lovely, it was a church we were performing in, and it had no heating whatsoever. We were absolutely freezing. But the performance went well. I got through it. There was a small mistake in the second piece, in the middle, and some of the notes didn't sound properly near the end of my second piece, but apart from that it went well. There was no stopping, which was a massive boost from what happened last time. I've been out and about on a few public pianos since my last recital, which I think's given me a big confidence boost in playing in front of people. I felt more relaxed before going on stage. I was still nervous, but I was regulating my breathing better, and I was shaking nowhere near as much as I was last time. So I actually enjoyed this performance a lot more than my last one. So what's next for me? Well, I will be doing my grade 3 piano at some point next year. I'm not in a real rush to get that done just yet. My grade 4 theory I'll be getting done in January, so fingers crossed for that. But next year I want to focus more on expanding my repertoire and learning more challenging pieces. I am going to be possibly doing a jazz piano exam, but I'm not sure yet how that works as the private visits. I think that's how ABRSM work them. But I've got a concert in March, another recital in March, which I'm looking forward to and preparing for. So yeah, lots of exciting things ahead. Thanks again everyone for your support. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.